Hi, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Monday, December 8th with a mishmash of Arkansas news. They held a panel today at noon at the Clinton School to talk about the new amendment that will set new pay for state officials and impose some new ethics rules. It was interesting. Business as usual, it seemed to me. One of the state's biggest lobbyists, Randy Zook, was on the panel. An energy company lawyer was on the panel. A state senator who insisted that higher pay and longer years in office be part of this amendment was on the panel, and also a representative who did start as an ethics supporter but got rolled by some of his colleagues on this measure was on the panel. What was lacking was a clear independent voice for stronger ethics in legislators. Let's hope this isn't a sign of how the thing is going to be put into place with a lot of give backs and wiggle room and things for legislators to get around the new rules. We shall see. Tomorrow's going to be a big day in Fayetteville. It's a special election on the referendum on the Civil Rights Ordinance. I think you'd have to predict today that the outlook isn't good for that ordinance to survive. There's been a lot of heated activity. Out-of-state preachers have come in to talk about the evils of gay people. The Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce, which happens to be headed by a man convicted of a felony for taking state money and expense account abuse, Steve Clark, has been talking about how this would be terrible for business. I don't happen to see how a high-tech company would be driven away from a city that promises to be welcome and equally treating of all people, but that's what they say. The University of Arkansas got involved in a bad way. The dean of students there prohibited the Student Government Association from running a shuttle bus to the polls for early voters. He said this would be partisan. There was no requirement of how you were going to vote to ride this bus, but it's pretty clear that this dean comes from a sector of the community that doesn't like this amendment. I think he looks a whole lot more partisan than the students did in trying to help people vote. Elsewhere today, I talked to Shane Broadway, the director of the Department of Higher Education. He got happy news late last week that Asa Hutchinson and the new Republican governor would like for him to stay on at the Department of Higher Education. He gave him a lot of time to make that decision. Broadway told me he's not for sure if he will or he won't. He has some other opportunities. ASU, his alma mater, is looking for a new lobbyist because the old one's retiring, for example. But it was a good sign of bipartisanship that Shane Broadway, who's well thought of, may stay around. There was a death in Little Rock over the weekend of a very popular figure in the Little Rock music community, T.C. Edwards, something of a rapper and a metal music singer, but just a nice guy. The shivering news on this is that the key suspect in this is likely to be somebody who'd been harassing and committing crimes against Edwards in the past. Police will be looking to see if he was killed so that he wouldn't testify against this person in court. There's not a charge on that yet, but it's being investigated. Police are much in the news these days. We have news today about a lawsuit filed over the wrongful conviction of a man on a minor drug charge and serving 11 years in prison for it on the testimony of some dirty cops. We've had Wendell Griffin, the circuit judge, talking about racial disparity and treatment of defendants. There's lawsuits all over the map about police behavior. We're going to have attorneys in town talking about a case that's going to be heard by the 8th Circuit this week about supposed improper use of deadly force by the Little Rock police. And finally, Sunday at Park Plaza, a group that's protesting police brutality had a die-in, they called it, at Park Plaza. Some 50 people lay down as if they'd been shot by police to show solidarity with police victims. At some point, something's going to happen to this. I'll give Little Rock Police credit. When they had the die-in at Park Plaza Sunday, they let them have their demonstration for 15 minutes or so, then kindly asked them to move on. There wasn't a heavy show of force there, and that's a good thing. Had some interesting stuff on the blog over the weekend. One is a very handy lookup tool which you can find precisely, easily in every town in Arkansas what kind of Defense Department material was sent to your community. Did you get a grenade launcher like the Los Angeles School District did? No, but a lot of people got these big mobile armored vehicles. A number of small police agencies got 45 automatic pistols, sniper rifles. Benton has enough sniper scopes to mount an invasion of Afghanistan. Bryant police got 100 body bags. Who knows why? Benton got an ambulance. They may need them if Bryant turns up that many bodies. Anyway, it's interesting reading. Today, we hope to get news that Dick Allen, the famous Major League Baseball player whose career started in Little Rock, will be added to the Baseball Hall of Fame. It was an occasion, unfortunately, for national stories about the very difficult first year that Dick Allen had here as the first black to play on the Arkansas Travelers baseball team. If you can believe it, his first game was marked by protesters protesting the Negroization of baseball, and they had Orville Faubus come to throw out the first ball. Perhaps we have changed a little bit, but I think the Dick Allen case is a pretty good example of why the evil you do lives after you and why the toll of history can be great, and perhaps it's something we ought to think about when we treat our fellow man unkindly today and some other issues that are not necessarily related to race. And finally, the Hogs are going to play Texas again. The Texas Bowl in Houston on December 29th will feature the old rivals, Arkansas and Texas, both of them 6-6 this year. It'll be a battle to see who can finish above 500. As I've noted on my blog, there'll be a lot of Texans with split loyalties. A quarter of the undergraduate student body at the University of Arkansas now comes from Texas, thanks to a good tuition rate and the fact that it's hard to get into some of the top Texas schools. So I've said you can say either hook 'em Hogs or woo horn suey. And for that, and with that, I guess I'll call it a day. I'm Max Brantley. See you tomorrow.